Did you know that small forgetfulness or changes in behavior can be the first signs of something much bigger? It's not just the passage of time. It could be the beginning of dementia. Dementia, including Alzheimer's, affects millions of people around the world, but many signs go unnoticed. Recognizing these symptoms early can make all the difference to quality of life and available treatments. Today, we're going to uncover the 6 first signs of dementia that you should know about and never ignore. If you or someone you love is experiencing something similar, this video could save lives. Before we begin, remember, these signs may be subtle at first, but together they form a pattern that cannot be ignored. Now, let's get straight to the point. Sign number 1. Short-term memory loss, the first warning that cannot be ignored. Have you ever noticed someone forgetting something that just happened? We're not talking about losing your keys or leaving your cell phone on the couch. That happens to everyone. We are talking about forgetting important information that has just been received, such as appointments scheduled minutes ago, recent conversations, or even tasks that are part of the routine. Imagine a mother who always remembered all her children's schedules, but suddenly starts forgetting the day of the school meeting, or even picking up a child from school. This type of frequent forgetting is more than a distraction. It could be one of the first signs of something bigger. What makes this sign so alarming is its silent progression. At first, a person may just think they are becoming more distracted, but over time, you start to rely on constant reminders like cell phone alarms, endless lists, or even other people to complete basic tasks. And the scariest thing, this can directly interfere with independence, making simple activities such as cooking, paying bills, or even shopping difficult. This signal also manifests itself in a very specific way. While old memories such as a childhood birthday or the name of a longtime friend remain intact, recent information, such as what you ate for breakfast or the name of a person introduced now, disappears completely. This difference is a strong indication that the brain is having difficulty storing new memories. If you or someone close to you has faced this type of situation, don't ignore it. Short-term memory loss is not just a normal part of aging. It is a red warning sign that could indicate dementia or other serious problems. Seek medical help immediately, because acting early can not only alleviate symptoms, but also completely change the course of the affected person's life. The sooner it is detected, the greater the chance of protecting the mind and quality of life. Sign number 2. Difficulty solving simple problems, a change that may hide something bigger. Solving everyday problems is part of our routine, whether calculating change at the supermarket, following a recipe, or organizing the monthly bills. But when simple tasks like these start to seem confusing or challenging, it could be an early sign of dementia. This difficulty arises because the brain begins to lose the ability to plan, organize, and execute activities that were previously done almost automatically. Imagine someone who has always been skilled with numbers, like an accountant who suddenly can't calculate the total value of a purchase or gets confused when making a bank transfer. Or think about that person who loved cooking and now gets lost following a recipe they always made from memory. These small stumbles may seem harmless at first, but they tend to get worse as you go. Furthermore, this difficulty is not limited to cognitive tasks alone. Simple things like assembling a piece of furniture, following a manual, or setting an alarm clock can become extremely necessary. Often, a person begins to avoid these tasks out of shame or frustration, which can lead to isolation and a loss of self-confidence. This sign is concerning because it indicates that areas of the brain responsible for problem-solving and decision-making are being affected. It's common for family or friends to think that this is just a sign of aging, but in fact, it's an important warning that something more serious could be happening. If this difficulty in solving simple problems becomes frequent and begins to interfere with your routine, it is essential to seek a medical evaluation. Early interventions can help identify a cause of dementia or another treatable problem, such as stress or depression. Remember, changes in behavior should not be ignored. They can be a key to preserving mental health and quality of life. Sign number 3, disorientation in time and space, the life-changing warning. Imagine waking up and not being sure where you are or what day it is. It seems like a momentary thing, but for people in the early stages of dementia, this feeling of confusion can become constant and have a profound impact on their daily lives. Disorientation in time and space is one of the most striking signs that something is wrong in the brain, and is often confused with distraction or natural aging. It's not just forgetting the day of the week. It's completely losing track of dates, times, locations, and even what should be happening at that moment. This disorientation begins subtly. A person may forget important appointments or have difficulty remembering a path they have always taken, such as the route to the supermarket or a close friend's house. However, over time, these episodes become more frequent and more severe. For example, someone who has lived in the same city for decades may suddenly find themselves lost on a familiar street, unable to remember how they got there or how to get home. Another common manifestation is when a person begins to confuse today with events from the past, believing that situations that have already been resolved still need to be carried out. For example, she may insist that she needs to go to work even though she has been retired for years, or she may be getting ready for a party that happened weeks ago. This type of confusion can be extremely disorienting and frightening, both for those experiencing it and their family members. Furthermore, episodes of spatial disorientation can lead to dangerous situations. It's not uncommon to hear stories of people with dementia who have left home for a simple walk and ended up lost for hours, unable to remember where they were or how to get back. This behavior not only poses a risk to physical safety, it can also cause great emotional distress, leaving a person anxious, confused, and afraid. At pace, disorientation also has a significant impact. A person may forget important data, such as birthdays, holidays, or even medical appointments, and lose the ability to calculate time intervals. For example, you may believe that an event that occurred years ago happened recently, or that something that was just thought of was never mentioned. This creates frustration for both the person and their family, who often do not understand that this confusion goes beyond simple forgetfulness. The root of this symptom lies in the damage caused by dementia to the areas of the brain responsible for orientation and time perception. When these functions are compromised, the person loses the mental map that helps them navigate the world and organize their actions in time. This symptom is also one of those that most highlight the severity of the condition, as it directly affects the person's independence. If you notice that someone close to you is showing signs of disorientation, such as confusing data, getting lost in familiar places, or showing difficulty in staying in the present, it is essential to act immediately. Talk to a doctor or specialist, as identifying and treating these symptoms early can avoid dangerous situations and guarantee a better quality of life. Don't underestimate these signs. They are a wake-up call that the brain needs help. The sooner you intervene, the greater the chance of offering protection and comfort to those you love. Sign number 4, mood or personality changes, when behavior reveals more than words. Changes in mood or personality are another early sign of dementia that often go unnoticed, as they are mistaken for natural variations in temperament or stressful life situations. However, these changes can be persistent, intense, and often without an apparent explanation. A person may become irritable, anxious, suspicious, or even depressed, even in situations that would not previously provoke such reactions. For example, someone known for their patience may begin to react explosively when faced with minor setbacks, such as waiting in line or dealing with a small delay. Other times, the opposite occurs. An extroverted and communicative person can become introverted, avoiding social interactions and preferring isolation. These behaviors confuse family and friends, who often don't understand why a person has changed so much. A particularly worrying aspect is the emergence of distrust or paranoia. A person may start accusing their loved ones of hiding things or stealing, even without evidence for it. This drastic change in behavior not only causes emotional distress for an affected person, but can also strain relationships, creating conflict at home and at work. Furthermore, these mood swings can manifest themselves in unexpected ways. A person can quickly go from a state of euphoria to deep sadness for no clear reason. For example, you may be smiling one moment and then feel extremely distressed the next. This is because dementia affects parts of the brain responsible for emotional regulation, making it difficult for a person to maintain balance in their reactions. Another important point is that these mood or personality changes often appear before the more obvious symptoms of memory loss. Therefore, it is essential to pay attention to these behavioral changes, as they can be one of the first signs that something is wrong. These changes are affecting someone close, not so ignored. Talking to a doctor is essential to understand the cause and offer appropriate support. Dementia could be one reason, but other conditions such as depression or anxiety can also cause similar symptoms. Identifying the problem early can significantly improve quality of life and minimize the impact of these changes, both for the affected person and those around them. Sign number 5, difficulty communicating. When words begin to miss. One of the most worrying and often overlooked signs in early dementia projects is difficulty communicating. This difficulty goes far beyond forgetting an occasional word, as we all do. For those beginning to cope with dementia, language that once flowed naturally begins to show unexpected gaps and disconnections that make even simple conversations a challenge. In everyday life, this can manifest itself in several ways. A person may have difficulty finding common words, such as chair or clock, and end up correcting them for confusing security reasons, such as that thing you sent, or the thing that tells the time. Furthermore, sentence construction may become disorganized, and speech may be incomplete or meaningless. Imagine talking to someone and suddenly realizing that they lose the thread, change the subject abruptly, or seem to forget what they were trying to say in the middle of a sentence. This difficulty is not limited to speaking. A person may have trouble understanding what is being said by others, especially if a conversation involves more complex instructions or information. For example, when asking for help with something simple, such as "Please bring the newspaper that is on the table in the room," a person may not be able to interpret the message correctly, bringing another object or not understanding the request. These challenges affect not only practical life, but also emotional life. The frustration of not being able to express yourself or understand others can lead to isolation, anxiety, and even depression. A person may begin to avoid conversations or social situations for fear of embarrassing themselves, leaving important interactions that they previously valued aside. This difficulty in communicating occurs because dementia attacks areas of the brain responsible for language, making it difficult to access and use words. However, as the process is gradual, family and friends may take a while to understand the problem, attributing it to aging or moments of distraction. But when difficulty finding words, following a conversation, or interpreting instructions begins to interfere with your daily routine, it's a clear sign that something more serious is going on. If you notice that someone close to you is experiencing these communication challenges, seek medical help. Early diagnosis can not only offer better treatment options, but also help adapt the person's life to minimize the impact of this symptom. Communication is fundamental to quality of life, and identifying these changes early can make all the difference in preserving this essential skill. Sign number 6, loss of interest in previous activities, the warning that should not be ignored. One of the most worrying changes in the early stages of dementia is a sudden loss of interest in activities that were once sources of pleasure and fun. The person who used to love, paint, play cards with the family, or even go for a walk, suddenly starts to move away from these activities for no clear reason. This sign is often subtle and progressive, but it is one of the first to be noticed by family and close friends. This lack of interest does not occur just because of tiredness or lack of time, but because the person is struggling to concentrate or even understand why these activities were important to them. Tasks that were once simple and enjoyable can begin to seem difficult or pointless. Someone who loved spending entire afternoons playing chess may now avoid any type of game or mental challenge because they think they can no longer play like they used to. Likewise, those who loved socializing may start to avoid invitations, preferring to stay alone at home, often without a clear explanation. The impact of this sign is profound, as loss of interest in daily activities often leads to social isolation and depression. A person may feel unable to carry out tasks that were previously natural, which further worsens the feeling of impotence and frustration. For family members, seeing someone so excited and active suddenly giving up everything can be painful and confusing. If you start to notice that someone close to you is withdrawing from their favorite activities, don't ignore this sign. It may indicate a larger health problem, such as dementia, which, if treated early, can be controlled and monitored effectively. Seeking medical help is essential to understand the causes of this change in behavior and offer appropriate support. Dementia is a silent disease that often only becomes evident when the condition is more advanced. But identifying early signs can make all the difference in the lives of the affected person and their family members. If you or someone close to you begins to show signs such as frequent memory loss, disorientation in time and space, drastic changes in mood, difficulties communicating, or even a loss of interest in previously loved activities, do not ignore these signs. What may seem like a simple forgetfulness or a temporary change in behavior can in fact be a warning of something much more serious. The good news is that, when identified early, these signs can be managed effectively, slowing the progression of the disease and ensuring that the affected person has a better quality of life for a longer period. Early intervention may include medication treatments that help manage symptoms, cognitive therapies that stimulate the brain, and psychological support practices that help deal with emotional and behavioral changes. Additionally, by seeking medical help as soon as the first signs appear, you have the chance to explore different treatment options that can minimize the impacts of dementia. Ignoring the signs of dementia, on the other hand, can lead to a rapid worsening of the condition, with a marked loss of the ability to carry out daily tasks and, more importantly, autonomy and independence. The longer time passes without a diagnosis and adequate intervention, the more difficult it will be for the person to adapt to the new reality and for family members to deal with daily challenges. It is not uncommon for behavioral changes caused by dementia to harm family relationships, causing frustration and confusion. Furthermore, loss of communication and interest in routine activities can result in a growing sense of isolation and depression, both for the affected person and loved ones. This change can become even more difficult to deal with without the right support. One person may begin to feel like they are losing control over their own life, while a family finds themselves unsure of how to help or what to expect. Therefore, early detection is key. By acting quickly, you can help a person stay connected to their world, continue doing activities that are important to them, and have better relationships with friends and family. With the help of doctors, therapists, and other professionals, it is possible to create a personalized care plan that minimizes the effects of the disease, promoting a more independent and comfortable life. Don't underestimate the importance of paying attention to these signs. Every small gesture can make a big difference. If you start to notice any of these symptoms, see a healthcare professional immediately. Early diagnosis not only increases the chances of effective treatment, but also offers people the opportunity to live with more dignity and enjoy important moments with their loved ones. Action today can transform the future, making it more controlled and meaningful. Don't wait. The change starts now.